$200 silver. Three experts talk price, supply, and demand. This is an article from investingnews.com that came out yesterday. Eric Sprott, Phil Baker, and Michael Oliver joined Simon Catt to discuss the outlook for silver and the potential for a breakout to $200. Sprott sees the price of silver going much higher. I'm sure we're going to be through 50. It used to trade at 15 to 1 to the price of gold. At today's price of gold, that would be over $200. I have no reason to think we're not going there, he said. Oliver had a similar price prediction. The first surge could get you well above 50. I think you get up in the $60 to $70 range before you even pause. Sounds good, but how realistic is this? Let's find out.
Connection established.
Welcome back to your daily silver video. If you want silver news brought to you on a daily basis, then make sure you click subscribe and click the bell so you get notified when I upload that specific day. It's usually in the evening, so just keep an eye out. I always try to give very up-to-date current articles. Everything's very fresh. This was posted yesterday, May 19th, talking about $200 silver with these three experts. So I like this because this is going to be three different perspectives of these people debating on why they think or maybe why they don't think silver could reach $200, and I will share my thoughts at the end of the video on $200 silver as well. If you watch my content, you probably already know what I'm going to say, but I would also like for you all to join the discussion and comment down below if you think $200 silver is realistic. If it is, then why? What would need to happen for this to happen? What is the time frame looking like? Let me know. People read comments, and I think it would be a great discussion if everyone threw in their 2 cents. Of course, this is all speculative. We don't know where silver's going to go, but all of us putting our heads together, it's nice to keep a pulse on the silver community and see where everyone's at. Another huge thing that happened recently in the world of silver is that India held their 2025 silver conference. I came across a 20-page PDF document of the entire conference, highlighting all of the highlights. So at the end of this video, we are going to just kind of skim through and check out what happened. India is one of, if not the largest importer of silver. They're buying boatloads of silver. They understand why silver is so valuable. Some of the people that attended were Mike Durenzio from the Silver Institute. We have a lot of big players here. Now, this conference, they went over everything. Production, supply and demand. They went over recycling. They went over some of the risks, pricing, everything. They covered it all. So to see all of these people all in the same room in this conference, all talking about silver's potential and this opportunity is it's very important, especially when Phillips Baker comes on and mentions why the silver gap can't be filled to scale and costs can't be solved, basically mentioning that we don't have enough silver to go green and it's unresolvable. This is a problem that is going to persist and actually get worse with these record-breaking supply deficits. Some of the key takeaways: the deficit over the past 4 years is 679 million ounces in the red in the past 4 years. I mean, this is stuff that we talk about on my channel, but for a massive conference like that, with India and all these big players in the room, that's where the ball gets rolling. So stick around to the end of the video if you want to check that out with me. So let's jump back to this. $200 silver. Three experts talk price, supply, and demand. This came out yesterday. So silver's lagged behind gold's recent record, or this record run, causing the gold to silver ratio to stretch near historic extremes. With the gold price buoyed by the central bank buying and silver increasingly tied to industrial demand, the disconnect between the two traditional safe haven metals has widened. But could silver's price finally be poised for a breakout? That's the million-dollar question, right? During a recent silver-focused webinar, Sprott founder Eric Sprott, former Hecla Mining CEO Phillips Baker and technical analyst Michael Oliver joined host Simon Catt of Arlington Group to unpack what's driving silver's sluggish performance and whether a reversal could be on the horizon. And remember, Phillips Baker is also the one that just attended, that conference that we were mentioning. The panelists explored silver's shifting applications, the impact of macro forces like Bitcoin speculation, and why some investors see today's dynamics as a potential launchpad for silver's next big move. So you have to understand supply and demand. Silver's price surged in 2024, rising from around $22 per ounce at the start of the year to nearly $35 by the end of October. Since then, silver has largely stayed in the $30 to $32 range, briefly breaking through $34 in March. So the metal has seen some support in 2025 due to instability in global financial markets caused by U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and the threat of reciprocal import fees against key trading partners. These foreign policy shifts by the world's largest economy have created uncertainty for investors who have been increasingly looking to traditional safe havens like silver and gold to de-risk their portfolios. However, today's tariff turmoil overshadows a fundamental shift in the silver market over the past several years, which has seen industrial demand growth start to outpace traditional investment demand. The most notable demand increase has been due to the green energy transition and silver's use in solar panels. While firms like Goldman Sachs have predicted that industrial demand will wane over the next few years, Catt's panelists presented different points of view, and this is what I wanted to see, right? There's a lot of big players here, a lot of silver experts, and everyone has their own ideas, and that's why it's all speculation. I go by numbers. Like yesterday, my video, I showed the LBMA's numbers. I showed the Silver Institute's, exact down to the, ounce of what's happening. And then we can make some assumptions from the actual data. But just saying what you think is going to happen without proving data or backing it by it isn't saying much. So Spross said there will be further demand from the EV sector, or as these market producers look to solid state batteries, which are not only safer but also quicker to charge. I think solid state batteries, and by the way, these batteries require more silver than the previous, will bring back EVs to being viewed as economic, he said. Plus, the whole processing of solar panels and generating electricity more and more inexpensively over time, it's just going to make the demand for silver continue to rise here when we already have a shortfall, he told listeners. And that's exactly what I've been saying. Even with these new batteries that we need, those batteries require way more silver. So even as we advance in this new digital era, these new applications that are branching off of previous ones or these new innovations, it's only requiring more and more. It's never less, since silver is the most highly conductive metal. It's never less, it's more silver. But at what cost? Where's it going to come from? And that's kind of what Phillips Baker was saying in that silver conference, right? It's unresolvable. So Baker pointed out that solar currently makes up 29% of silver's total 1.2 billion ounce of annual demand, and noted that if that were to disappear, it would have a massive impact on the silver market. However, he also said that even if there were a significant policy shift in the US, there would still be a considerable demand for solar worldwide. Even in the US, the policy really is all of the above, all forms of energy. So I'm not concerned about solar cells diminishing. Could they go flat? Yeah, that's fine. Flat at 300 million ounces? That's great demand for silver, he added. While most solar demand comes from China, the panelists also discussed India's growing role in the sector. The country has recently been working to increase domestic production of solar panels. So we also have the Prime Minister made a policy decision a year ago to grow the solar industry in India. So in India, only about 10% of their demand for silver is used for industrial purposes. In China, it's 90%. So what you're going to have is in India is you're going to see their solar panel growth skyrocket. In India, like I said earlier, they're already at the top of the line when it comes to countries that import massive amounts of silver, along with China and some others. Silver is primarily a byproduct metal in the production of copper, nickel, zinc, and gold, which makes it highly dependent on dynamics in those markets, as Baker pointed out. Silver isn't a significant source of revenue, right? Miners are never looking for silver because they'd rather look for gold or something else that's 70 times more valuable. Plus, silver is pretty hard to find. It's scarce. It's a byproduct. It's found by accident. So even if the price of silver rises significantly. They're not going to change their operations because it's not going to matter for a big copper producer, he explained. Unless there are dramatic production swings for those commodities, supply and demand are unlikely to come into balance in the near term, which is huge, which is horrible for companies, and industries that rely on silver. Over the past year, silver has tested $35 twice using technical analysis. Oliver compared this to how the silver price tested resistance at the $26 level 3 times before breaking through. What he's seeing in momentum indicators now is similar to what happened at that time. In the lead up, momentum was flat, but silver hit $26. Momentum saw an immediate 10% gain. It came back up to a third time to 26. Watch out. It blew your head off, he said. Okay, you go back to 35 again, and the price says you better watch out. I'm at a triple top, and if I go to 36, it's a triple top breakout. The only issue now, which weak punches up there, is that this 10% over level. I think, who knows, it might even be tomorrow, but I think soon we'll get up there. I don't know. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. There's too much going on in the world right now, but at the end of the day, just buy silver. It's cheap. Hold it while the dollar declines. They go over the gold to silver ratio. I don't want to, there's a lot. This is interesting though. They go over market manipulation. That's one that I'm kind of surprised they brought up. It's definitely one of those topics that you gotta, depending if you're like a public figure, public face, or run a company, you got to be careful of how you talk about market manipulation, because it's much deeper than most people think. Honestly, it's much more sinister, unfortunately. But he goes on to say, addressing manipulation, Sprott suggests silver has been manipulated for the last half century. I look at silver as a market that's been manipulated for 50 years. We have about 8 to 12 major international banks who are short over 500 million ounces of silver on the COMEX, have always been short on that product. They always make stabs at knocking it down, try to cover it up, shorts go back up. However, Sprott said the price has gone from 20 to 35. It's become more difficult for those banks to maintain their positions. Same thing is true in gold, but gold, we all know, in the last year when it broke through 2,000 for the fourth time, it was over for the commercial banks. So they go on to talk about the COMEX seems contrary to what's going on in other markets. But if you just traded COMEX and you bought silver at the starting value, it'd be worth 2 or 3% of what it started at. Whereas if you bought it non-COMEX hours, it'd be worth 600% more. So, this is interesting. Now, this is the meat and potatoes. This is what they're talking about. So, Sprott sees the price going much higher. I'm sure we're going to be through $50. It used to trade at 15 to 1 at the price of gold. Today's price of gold, that would be $200. I have no reason to think we're not going to go there. Oliver had a similar price prediction. I think the first surge could get you well above 50. I think you'd get up in the $60, $70 range before you even pause. And then, this could occur rapidly, especially if we break past 50, since there's been so much resistance there in 1980 and 2011. Oliver also explained that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin aren't an alternative and appear more like a speculative bubble. Given the size of the US debt, treasuries aren't as attractive to investors, which is causing further compression in monetary markets, metals markets. Although Baker didn't provide a price prediction, he did express support for a market driven by supply and demand fundamentals, saying that this is a very, very unique time. And that is exactly where I also agree. When things go back to how they should, and not saying it's going to always be, it will go back to, or will be a fair world, but when supply and demand, the fundamentals of something with intrinsic value that comes out of the ground, it's needed, when that affects the price more than bank manipulation or speculation does, that's when we'll see silver really start to do something. When is that? That's the $1,000,000 question. So anyways, just to review this, we have, I'll actually link this. This video is already pretty long. I will link this file for you guys to check out. It's 20 pages. It's just going over the silver conference. Phyllis Baker spoke. We also remember I said that Silver Institute, Mike Dorenzio from the Silver Institute was there. Everyone kind of gave in their thoughts. It's very interesting. Just see what people are thinking about right now in the world of silver across the world. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.